Dr. Andrews leads the scientific research and development function of Sierra Sciences. His team is now pursuing direct molecular approaches to temporarily activate telomerase expression and is performing discovery efforts. While director of the molecular biology at Geron Corporation, he was one of the principal discoverers of the telomerase gene. I'm proud to introduce Dr. William H. Andrews.
Thank you. I'd start off by I'd like to thank Ron Klatz and Bob Goldman for allowing me to speak here, and I'd especially like to thank Janelle Topping, standing back there, for putting up with all my late responses and my difficult slides. Thank you. Groucho Marx once said, "I intend to live forever, or die trying." He was trying to be funny when he said this, and he got a lot of laughs. But I don't believe the people in this room think this is very funny, because we're here because we're all trying to live forever. I know I am. And we are going to try our best to do that. And so what I'm going to be talking today isn't really how to live forever. I'm going to be talking about how to try to live forever. I'm going to be talking about research science that's underway now that's going to allow us or increases our chances of succeeding at this. And so pretty much what I'm going to be talking about today is not what you can buy today. In some cases that's not true. But I'm going to be talking about what's in the future, what we have in the future to look forward to. So how to try to live forever, first do the obvious things. Eat healthy, live healthy, exercise, listen to everything your doctor says. But this isn't enough. This isn't going to allow us to do things like run 7-minute miles when we're 130 years old. And that's what we want to do. And by the way, we're not just talking about living longer, we're talking about living healthy longer. We want to be very healthy when we're in our hundreds. Now, there's been a lot of things that have allowed us to extend our lifespan tremendously, especially just in the last 100 years. In 1900, the average lifespan was only 47.3 years. And since then, we've extended that up to 78 years through a lot of things, including better sewage systems, vaccines, refrigeration, exercise. The other column has coronary artery bypass surgery, chemotherapy. All these things add up to give us a tremendous extension of life. But none of these things are going to cure aging. We still aren't going to see anybody, or we aren't going to be running 7-minute miles when we're 130 years old. And this is because there's a theoretical maximum lifespan that a lot of scientists have calculated to be 125 years. Apparently nobody can live beyond 125 years. There's been at least 3 studies done. References are here. The most recent one was just a few months ago, a mathematical model looking at how much older people have been getting over the last 100 years, and still they see this threshold. We can't seem to pass this threshold of 125 years. And they don't know why. Well, there's a lot of theories on what causes aging. And because of time, I don't want to go through all these. But I want you to see how many there are. And they're probably all true. We probably all have a lot of things in our bodies causing us to age. I tend to believe in every one of them because I'm very eager to live forever. And so I try to do everything I can to try to combat all these different theories. But I like to think of each theory as a stick of dynamite that's burning inside of our cells. And so when that fuse goes out, that's when we die of old age. But there's multiple sticks of dynamite. There's a lot of things inside of us that are causing aging, and we don't really know what the one with the shortest fuse is. And that's really the only one that matters. Which stick of dynamite has the shortest fuse? So there's a lot of people working on a lot of different ideas on what might be the shortest fuse. Not all the researchers agree on what that might be. They include stem cells, mitochondria maintenance, nanomedicine, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I personally am very interested in this list. I'm trying to keep a real accurate record of everything that's going on and trying to keep on top of it all. And so if anybody looking through this list sees anything that I've left out, please let me know. I'd like to add it to the list. Okay, but today, I personally believe that our shortest fuse is the length of our telomeres. And so I'm going to be talking about the control of telomere length. All right. What's this guy talking about? Most of you have probably never heard of a telomere, and so I'm going to give you a basic background on what this is first. And to do this, I need to zoom in on a person. And when we zoom in on a person, we see that a person is made up of 100 trillion cells. And all those theories I was talking about before on why we age, they all relate to the aging of our cells. We age because our cells age. If we could find a way to prevent aging in our cells, that would probably cure our own aging. If we zoom in even further, we see that every cell contains a nucleus. And inside these nuclei, there are chromosomes. And these chromosomes are where all the genes exist to give us our blue eyes or blonde hair, make some of us short and make some of us smart. And so I want to zoom in even further now and explain that a chromosome is made up of a DNA strand that extends from one end all the way to the other. And the DNA is approximately 10 million bases long. It's made up of units called bases, and it's pretty much coiled up like a slinky all the way through this chromosome. The key of my talk today is the very tips of the chromosomes. These are what are called the telomeres. And if we unravel this slinky in the telomere, we can see that a telomere is about 15,000 bases long. At least it is when you're first conceived. As soon as cells start dividing, your telomeres start getting shorter. And by the time you have enough cell division to become a newborn baby, the telomeres have shortened already down to 10,000 bases. They've gone from 15,000 bases to 10,000 bases. As cells start to divide further, for us to become adults, our telomeres shorten even further. And when they get as short as 5,000 bases, we die of old age. Telomeres cannot get shorter than 5,000 bases. Inside of petri dishes, when we grow cells in petri dishes, the cells absolutely stop growing and die of old age at 5,000 bases. Let me repeat this. We are born at 15,000 bases. We are conceived at 15,000 bases. We're born at 10,000 bases. We die of old age at 5,000 bases. And there's absolutely nothing we can do about this. This telomere shortening is going to occur no matter how well you exercise, no matter how well you eat, no matter how much you do everything your doctor tells you to do. You cannot stop this telomere shortening. Now, this is the only clock of aging that anybody has ever discovered in humans. And it actually fairly well explains this 125-year theoretical maximum that we have, because these telomeres shorten approximately 1,000 bases per year. So this is a new word. A lot of you now know what this word means, but I predict that in the next 5 to 10 years, this is going to become a household word. Everybody's going to want to know how long their telomeres are. I recommend that everybody here get their telomeres measured as soon as possible. And I recommend every doctor get all their patients' telomeres measured, the length of their telomeres measured as soon as possible. Because I believe this is going to be the biggest and best biomarker of aging and overall health that we've ever seen. And we want to get our baseline telomere lengths measured now. So the best example of where telomeres play a role in aging is the fact that there are some people who are born with already short telomeres. This disease, called progeria, affects these kids, and this disease is called the disease of short telomeres. These kids have a maximum life expectancy of about 20 years, and they suffer from all the same age-related ailments that normal old people do. If we could find a way to stop telomere shortening or to slow it down, this could be a cure for this disease. That's pretty much going to be what I'm going to be talking about today, is finding ways to stop this telomere shortening. Now, these kids aren't the only ones that suffer from telomere shortening. We all do. Telomere shortening has been implicated in almost all aspects of normal aging. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to just give a few examples, and I'll start off with the number 1 and 2 causes of death. Cancer. When our telomeres get short, our chromosomes become unstable, and the rearrangements of our chromosomes cause mutations, and these can induce the expression of oncogenes and de-repressed tumor suppressor genes, increasing our risk of getting cancer. In addition, when the telomeres in our immune cells get short, our immune cells lose the ability to fight the cancers. So it's two things happening here. Short telomeres increase our risk of getting cancer and decrease our ability to fight the cancer. Atherosclerosis. When you look at the cells lining your blood vessels, the endothelial cells and the smooth muscle cells, you'll find that if you look at the telomeres in the cells surrounding plaque, you'll find those telomeres are shorter than the telomeres in other parts of the blood vessels. And this is because we think that the cells have gotten older through telomere shortening, and as a result, they are less capable of preventing plaque. So if we could find a way to prevent that telomere shortening, this could be a possible way of preventing plaque and even fighting plaque. There's a lot of disease, lack of time. I'm not going to go into all of them, but people are welcome to talk to me throughout this conference. I can tell you the basics of telomere biology in all of these, but they include Alzheimer's, osteoarthritis, osteoporosis, just general skin aging. They include macular degeneration, which is the #1 cause of blindness in the elderly, liver cirrhosis, muscular dystrophy, AIDS. Now, you all remember back in the early 80s when AIDS epidemic first came around, doctors were saying that they don't understand why their patients don't have any T cells. Well, we now know that the immune cells, the T cells in the immune system, put up such a fight against the AIDS virus, and the fight was unsuccessful, but because of this fight, there was lots of cell division, and the telomeres got very short in these immune cells, and the immune system died of old age. And that's why the AIDS patients don't have T cells. Now, if we could find a way to prevent the telomere shortening in these immune cells, the immune cells would stay around. They probably wouldn't be successful at fighting the disease, but the person might be able to live a normal life. General immunity, stem cells. Every time I go to a stem cell conference, doctors are asking me, have we come up with a drug to prevent telomere shortening yet? And I always have to say, not yet. But the reason why they're asking is because when you take stem cells out of a person, you have to expand them in culture. You have to get more numbers of them. You have to let them divide. Well, because of the cell division, the telomeres are getting shorter, and so the cells that they put back into a person end up actually being older than the cells they took out of a person. So the people doing stem cells need a drug that will prevent telomere shortening when they're doing stem cell therapy. There's a lot of diseases. Anything you can think about that involves cell division is going to have telomere shortening. And one thing I want to leave you with is that bad things happen when telomeres get short. There's nothing good about short telomeres. And there's also nothing bad about long telomeres. So it would be good if we could find a way to keep the tips of our chromosomes long. So now let me address the question of why do telomeres shorten? And to do this, I have to explain, when I was showing you the cell and it had the chromosomes in it, when that cell divides, all the chromosomes, the two new cells that get made out of this have to have all the same chromosomes that the original cell had. So the DNA has to duplicate. It has to replicate. Now, DNA replication is a lot like laying bricks on a brick wall. The bottom strand here can be considered the original strand, and then the new strand, the top layer is the new strand, and this has to be identical to the original strand. Remember, this DNA is about 100 million bases long, so it's a long, arduous process, and if there's any mutations that are made during this thing, or any mistakes, this can lead to mutations that can cause cancer, etc. So this is a pretty accurate procedure. But what we want to do is we want to look what's happening over at the very tips of the chromosome, okay, the telomeres. And so we have this brick layer, which, by the way, in a cell is called DNA polymerase I, is moving along, replicating, and you're going to see there's a problem coming up here. And this is what actually happens inside of a cell. The cell is unable to replicate the very end of the chromosome. As a result, every time DNA, or chromosomes, are replicated, they are a little bit shorter. And as I said before, there's nothing we can do about this. But I want to point out that there was no degradation here. There was no enzymes that came along and chewed this away. This is purely due to a lack of an ability for the cell to replicate the very ends of the chromosome. It's more of a passive, not an active phenomenon. But now this DNA has to divide, or the cell has to divide, the chromosome needs to replicate again. The new chromosome is even shorter. and again and again. And there's absolutely nothing we can do about this. No matter how well you eat, no matter how much you exercise, no matter how much you do, everything